Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Retro and Rare podcast episode for a Tropical Storm Tuesday. Different setup. We have a little bit of an audience. Ryan thought of Tropical Storm Tuesday. I can't tell Doyle to give me a weather report because he is off mic today, which some people will be happy about, by the way. Take a break from your fuckery. We actually have someone in the building with some knowledge. My boy Ricky.
How we doing?
See? Now, Ricky, you see the bullshit I deal with Doyle.
Yeah, I can see.
So listen, today's show is a little different. We'll get serious about certain things. Ricky is basically, well, why don't you tell people what you do, Ricky?
So we have an accounting firm here in Florida. Basically help individuals start their businesses, grow their businesses, from tax aspect, accounting aspect, payroll, all the way to marketing and helping them on that side.
Good. And I feel like this is something for you to listen to so you don't dress like a 13-year-old for the rest of your life and get your shit together. Maybe listen to Ricky, do your taxes. The IRS is definitely looking for you. And I won't discourage, I'm not going to really get into that with you. I don't want you getting that much trouble. I need you to operate the camera. So that's fine. But anyway, so Ricky, number one, the reason why we have some Jordans on the table is Ricky is also a sneakerhead. You happen to be wearing Space Jams today?
Yeah, got my Space Jams on today.
So I figured this was appropriate. The vinyl records, I don't know if you're into vinyl. I just decided to put vinyl records up there. And the rest of it is my random bullshit. So people always ask why we have the trinkets, as Doyle calls them. That's what it's for. So I guess the reason I'm having you on is because obviously we're building a relationship through business and everything. You're helping me with finances and stuff. I feel like a lot of people that are into what I do, which is vintage collectibles or just collectibles in general that buy, sell, and trade, they want to get into it, but it's important that you have the business side set up.
Yeah, you definitely have to understand how to set your business up, which way to go. Most people, they start it the wrong way, get a fictitious name, and then once they're up and going and they don't really have the time to look back and really think about what they're doing, it's already too late for them. That's when they go to an accountant. They're spending a ton of money to get things right. When if they had the advice from somebody in the very beginning, most people say it's unaffordable, but you can't not afford to not do it.
Right.
Because if you get with somebody, whether it's me or another finance guy, accounting or anything in general, in business general, you have your tax prep people, you have your accountants, you have your CPAs, even all the way up to financial advisors. They can kind of give you and guide you kind of down the right path. And it's really not that expensive. I think we're doing a deal right now, actually, $150, and we get your business set up the right way.
See, that's what blows my mind. Why wouldn't somebody for $100, if you're going to be serious about business? See, a lot of people get caught up in you, Doyle. You think you're just going to sell shit on eBay and that's going to be your full thing. First of all, you're not maximizing your business potential. Second of all, when you start selling a certain amount, you got to report that, and then you start getting into muddy waters and you think you're making money. Then the IRS says, no, bro, it's all mine. And all you have to do is get with someone like Ricky, set you up correctly, or you can end up like Doyle. And that's what today's show's about. Don't end up like Doyle.
Don't end up like Doyle. It's super cheap. There's plenty of websites out there to get you set up right. Best thing is find somebody that kind of knows the industry, knows what you're doing, and go to them and talk to them before you even click a button on your computer.
Now, one thing you advised me on, because you're trying to help me out, we're going to set up, because we got the overflow of shit. Now you see, because you're here, the amount of shit that it's a little ridiculous. So we're going to sell some of the overflow, and that's fine. Now, you're advising the best idea for something like that, or what I'm doing is a online retail as opposed to physical retail, right?
Correct. So everything is moving to online. Everything's going AI. You have your store at people's fingertips now. They don't have to come to you. They don't got to search you. They don't got to map it out. They don't have to do anything. They can click a button, go straight to your website, and it's there. Amazon, Walmart, Sam's, Publix, just about every store now you can order online and have it delivered. And there's a reason for that. These huge companies wouldn't do it unless everything was going that way.
Right.
You're going to, on a brick and mortar, you're going to be $40K plus just to open. Then you got to staff it, and then you got to figure out what your hours operation are. You got to figure out, are you going to have the time to be there yourself, or are you going to be out, buying more shit, which then in turn you got to have employees there that you trust. And a lot of time that's hard to find. It's hard to find people just to want to work right now in general.
Yeah.
But, brick and mortar is dying with that specific industry. I know some people want to touch and feel and see, but that's where you get your money back guarantee. 30 days, ship it back.
That's so me and you The difference that we have on it is I'm all about the experience. I want you to come to my store and buy into the brand and the vibe and the smell and the whole thing. But I have to agree, just thinking logically, it does make more sense to take all of that risk and just put it online where it doesn't really cost you anything. I'm not paying $4,000 a month to have my shop, and then the insurance and the employees and the payroll tax within the store and all that. So, I'm personally torn. I have you bring that up because that is definitely the more logical. Like, I'm thinking more with my heart on that than, and a lot of times I'm sure that's where people get in trouble in business. They have a passion. They go way too emotional with it, and they're not thinking of the logistics and the details. And I think that's what we need you for.
Yeah, and that's what you need, that finance person there to help you figure that out. And you can still get that feel, especially in your industry with the vintage. You can set up at trade shows, you can do that, and you can still get the feel of meeting with people, talking to them, explaining the items to them, and you still get the feel without the overhead.
That's a great point, because there are people that I know personally, Doyle, Chris, and 1980 something Co. and Wiz. I mean, the way that they do their trade shows and with the virtual flea and all that, which we're going to in August, by the way. Get your shit together. So that's a great happy medium, because you actually get both. You get the online presence, and then you get mobile or trade shows where you're setting up your business. You can create that vibe within just a weekend and then move on and go across the country. And
Exactly.
Yeah, and a lot of those expenses are writable for your taxes, right?
And then you have the freedom to do it. If you get a brick and mortar and you don't have the right staff, you're not going anywhere.
And you're locked into the location, and
you're a slave to where you're at. You don't get to be free like you're used to. There's a lot that goes into it. We have multiple businesses. That's why I can kind of elaborate a little more than what your typical tax guy would be able to do. But you definitely get that. Trade shows, man, you hype it up. You spend the money to advertise it for 2 weeks.
The marketing is the key.
You do the marketing, 2 weeks. Now you know exactly. You're able to kind of guess how many people is going to come see you specifically, because you're able to see the post engagements. You're able to see the comments. You're able to kind of adjust to that and then take the appropriate amount of items. And you're able to get in there. You hustle and bustle for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then you're done to the next one.
Now, let me ask you a question. So let's say somebody like myself, I start up my own little thing. I start to do well. I start to get way more cash flow. I'm into profit. I know that the first 2 years in the whole thing, that you're going to be losing money generally starting your business. Now, maybe in a trade show aspect, not as much if you flip quick enough. But once you start making money, investment-wise, because I know you and Ryan go back and forth. You guys are into crypto a little bit, or so you think it's a good idea to diversify your money in that way?
I think it's a great idea to diversify your money in something that you're comfortable with. In this day and age, there's so much that you can invest in. If you see and you look at statistics, there's less and less people investing in the stock market and crypto. And you see more and more investing in shoes and watches and collectibles. And
tangible assets.
You have your tangible assets that you can resell for more money than what you paid for them, even though you paid retail.
Right.
So a pair of Space Jams, right? You got these same exact shoes, but they're Space Jams. They're black and blue. Those specifically, if you bought them when they come out, you're $200, $220.
Retail. But
they're reselling right now for $550 to $700.
Right.
And you can get that almost immediately. So if that's you dedicate yourself just to buying shoes when they come out, you can make a living. You can dedicate yourself just to buying Rolexes. You get a great connect at the Rolex store. They hit you up when a new one comes out. You're making $4, $5, $6 grand immediately. Right.
Now that's another thing so I think you're able to make money in so many different ways that is unconventional. And I think a lot of it maybe had to do with the pandemic and COVID.
Yeah, a little bit, but more people. So back in the day, and let me tell you right now, if you're holding money in the bank account, you're fucking stupid. Period. If you're holding money in the bank account, inflation last year was 4.5%. So now you're 100 grand, you buy 4.5% less shit this year just holding your money in the account. Worst thing that you can do, now there's safe investment options.
Well, you know what? Hold on, because I'm one of those idiots. I have a sizable amount of money in a random checking account, right? So let's play the honesty game, and how much money, now everyone's lifestyle is different, everyone has different bills, and there's all that. But realistically, how much money should you be having liquid available to you? How much money should you, within a ballpark, that you should save And what should you be doing with that liquid money in order to have returns?
So it's hard to put a number on it. You don't put a number on it because everybody's lifestyle is different. Right? It's all perspective.
Right.
But the rule of thumb is have 3 to 4 months in reserve to pay your
whatever
bills.
your expenses are.
Something happens, you want 3.5, 4 months, and not just enough money to pay your bills, but enough money to maintain your lifestyle. If you're the type of person that eats out 3 times a week, or if you're the person that just likes to collect things, or you're the person that, you're not gonna, if you lose your job, you're not gonna immediately stop doing those things.
Right.
So you need the time to kind of adjust to it and then find something else, whether it's starting your own business or whether it's working for somebody else. You have to give yourself enough time, and typically it's 3 to 4 months.
Right.
Liquid. Now, you can also invest that money in something that you can get it out pretty quickly. So if you jump into stocks that are paying you dividends or something like that, you can typically get your money out within a week. So still holding it in the account is not the greatest idea.
It's actually probably losing money with the way that the dollar is and all that shit.
Correct. Every day or every month that your money's just sitting in the account, even if it's in a savings account, it's like 0.01%.
Yeah, there's no more
right now.
It's not the 80s where they at least gave you 9%, whatever it was.
Exactly. So. It's not back in the day. I mean, I know somebody close to me that's 150 plus in their savings account, and they get like $80 a year in interest.
It's crazy.
So you're talking about that much money. You can put in something, whether you want to invest in real estate, you want to invest in shoes, you want to invest in cars, watches, those things. If you have $100,000, you can buy almost 10 day Rolexes.
Right. Correct.
And you'll make $3,000 on every single one of them.
Right. And there's my other thing. When we talk about money, and like I said, today's episode's a little different. We're getting a little more serious because people hit me up like I know what the fuck I'm doing. I happen to be lucky in a good position, but it's really important that people understand that like the art of managing money is a real thing. You can have all the money in the world. It's really easy to fucking blow it, and then you have nothing and you don't realize what happened. So having somebody like you on is important because people hit me up all the time for advice, and the last thing I want to do is I could tell you shit about certain collectibles. I'm not going to give you any kind of financial advice because it's just not something I'm well versed in. And I think luckily, accidentally, through my passion, I came into the tangible asset game. I put a lot of time and energy into learning about this shit and knowing what I'm doing. And that's why I go out to thrift stores but we were just discussing things I bought for $20 that are worth $300, and it happens a lot. And I just think it's super important for people to understand, like, if you want to start your own business and do your thing, like, have your little details in order because you don't just throw money at shit and then be broke and not understand what happened.
No, absolutely. Do your research. No matter what business is in. I tell everybody all the time, I don't care what it is, you can make money at it, but do your research, be passionate about it, understand what you're going to have to put in, create the plan, make your goal, and then you can get there. But without planning, without having your goal, without having a way to execute, you're going to fail every time. That's why most businesses end up failing in the first 3 months.
Right. And there's a lot of aspiring people. And it makes me sad to know that there are plenty of people with the right passion but wrong business sense. Yeah. And that's where a lot of the heart over the mind thing is, where it's like you were so involved in that you didn't realize that there's so much behind the scenes that has to go into a business to make it work financially so you can support yourself and your family and all that. So
Ryan and I was actually having this conversation on the way over. And they fail because one, they think they're going to open a business and be able to go on vacation 5 times a year. Yeah. That doesn't work that way.
Well, people don't realize is as a business owner, you work more than your employees, right? I mean, you're working when you're not working.
Well, if you're a good business owner.
Well, especially in the beginning, that initial hump of getting it successful, then you can delegate and all that good stuff.
If you think working 40 hours a week right now is shitty, try to become a business owner.
Right.
You're 80 plus, phone calls, emails, setting stuff up, setting schedules, making sure, you always have in the back of your mind, oh, did I do this? Or did I forget to do something today? Especially in my line of work, when we have deadlines and certain dates that we have to have things done by, you always have that in the back of your mind. Even though you did it, you still have that stress of, maybe you forgot something.
And you got to play, most times you pay your employees before you pay yourself. I mean, a good business owner would do that, right?
Well, I could tell you my business that we just opened October of last year, which is the accounting firm in Lakeland. Mm-hmm. And besides that, we're 30 plus years in a tax office in Lake Wells. That I just took my first paycheck 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
And it's been open almost a year, and my staff has been paid every single Friday without fail, no matter what.
Yep.
Doesn't matter if we have money or not. Staff gets paid, they get taken care of. Just this weekend, one of my staff members, they wanted to go up do white water rafting, and they didn't have enough money. So hey, you know what? It's a long weekend. Leave at 3 o'clock on Friday. Here's some money. Go do it. Go enjoy your life. Go live. And you're buying loyalty. And
I was gonna say there's value in that.
Yeah, it sounds shitty, but you're buying loyalty. So obviously you're taking care of them from the bottom of your heart. You're like, hey, look, I want to do this for you.
Right.
But you're also buying that loyalty to when, hey, you call them, somebody break into your store and that person lives closer and you can call them at 1 o'clock in the morning.
But see, it sounds harsh. It sounds harsh that you say that, buy loyalty, but it's not, and it's true, and there's also a good meaning behind it. You're not doing it so that you can have one up on that person.
No, exactly. You're doing it because you genuinely want to make sure they enjoy their life.
And that's really all that matters.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and it's important, and you know what? That's how you create great relationships with employees that end up turning into family, and that's how you have a 30-year plus business, and I mean, those things are super important.
Yeah, you get these right people in, you take care of them, and I think that's the biggest misconception with business owners is they don't take care of their employees.
Right.
I pay your bills. No, the fuck. You don't pay their bills.
Right.
You pay somebody to be at work at a certain time to do a certain job, and that's it.
Yeah.
You don't do anything special for that person. You just do what you're supposed to do to make sure your business
It's an exchange. I'm
Exactly.
giving you money for your
time.
service and your time.
Yeah, and time is the most valuable asset that anybody has.
Correct.
We was talking earlier. I have my life in weeks poster.
Yo, explain that what you were talking about.
So it's a poster of life in weeks, and it gives you there's a star right where the expectancy for life is. Yeah. Which is 76 years old.
Right,
for male, 76 years old. And that's where you should expect to live. Right. So then now you got to think about the last 6 or 7 years of your life. You're going to be in and out of doctors, hospitals. Your kids and grandkids are growing up. They don't want to fuck with you because you're old. Yeah. You're going to doctors and you smell like, what do they say, formaldehyde. Yeah. And so when you look at that, so you're talking about 76 years old, 5-6 years of that is shitty. So you really only got about 69. Yeah. About 69 years old is kind of where you're going to peak out at. Now you think about it. I'm 30 years old. I'll be 31 in October. Got you. I'm almost halfway through my life.
It's fucked.
I'm almost halfway through my life expectancy. So whenever you're able to look at that, then now it's not only going to remind you to enjoy your life. I got a wife and kids, and before I was always just work. Yeah. Now I can see I'm like, damn, I'm almost done. Yeah. And then it makes you realize the
perspective is completely changed.
Yeah, your perspective changes. So now you're going to execute every single week. Yeah. To what you want to do. And like I said, I have a wife and kids. So you only have 18 birthdays for the most part. Really 16 because at that age they don't want to mess with you anymore anyway. Of course. You only have, 15 or 16 Christmases. You only have so much time with these kids that you brought into the world. Right. And you have to teach those kids at the same time. So you can't teach them if you're 80 hours plus at work.
Right. And sometimes your business requires that. So to find that balance, same thing with relationships. I mean, how many relationships have gotten fucked up, friends, romantic, whatever, because you have to spend all that time at your business and it looks like you're being insensitive, but you're not. You're just trying to do either what your passion says or what you need to do to survive. And it's, but that's a good way to look at things because it constantly reminds you that we were talking about before that horrible thing when I moved in, I saw that guy got hit by the car and he died. It's like, that guy didn't even make it to the 70 or, whatever it was. And it's like, you never know when shit like that can happen. You never know what's around the corner. So
you can die at any time. Yeah. That's one thing. Well, they say there's two things that are guaranteed in life: taxes and death. Yep. And that's you're gonna have to pay your taxes, and you're gonna die one day. Making sure that you leave behind your legacy or whatever you want to call it is huge. Your life insurance to leave your loved ones. Right. There's a lot of things that as young adults we don't think about, but definitely life insurance. Take care of your family. Big time. If you're the main breadwinner of the family, now you're single, but somebody's gonna have to come up.
Well, hold on, I'm in a relationship.
You're in a relationship. You're not married.
Let's not get me in trouble. I'm not. Well,
you're not married. Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
So you're not married yet.
No.
So you don't really have a wife and kids that depend on you.
Right.
But you still have a responsibility of when you do pass away. Yeah. You have the responsibility of funeral. Yep. The reception at the funeral, and somebody's gonna have to pay for that. For you got some money in the bank, but is somebody there that can access that? Yeah.
Well, what are people going to do with all my shit? Doyle, you're going to take, what's going to happen? I don't have a will. I don't know what's going on.
So when you look at that, it makes you think of those things. And we kind of got off subject about life insurance, but when you take a look at how much time you have left, it makes you understand and realize, there's some things that you got to take care of in life.
I'm sure for somebody like you or anybody, like once you had kids and you got married, like you understood like it's probably like even more important, and there's another reason for it. Because you know what I realized, I've been, not having any kids or not even being in a relationship like I kind of am now. Like, I've been super selfish my whole life. Like I never thought about anybody else but myself and keeping myself happy, which is a lot of times what manifested all this. But shit changes, and it's funny how even when you think it won't change, and like, no, shit changes, bro.
Yeah.
And you got to be prepared for shit like that.
Yep. You gotta be tough. You gotta be mentally stable.
Yeah.
There's a few things that come in with that, but definitely whenever you get into a relationship, and for me, kind of similar to you, my wife had 2 kids when we met, and that was a whole ordeal and trying to figure that out. I went from single, no kids, no nothing. I just had to depend on myself, do whatever I want, leave at any time I wanted to.
Yep.
Didn't really have to, nobody was questioning me, to having a wife with 2 kids, and then she was pregnant, with my 7-year-old. It was like immediately it changes. Your whole perspective changes on life, on business, on just everything.
It's amazing how that happens, bro. Because I would be the first guy to tell you that you're fucking nuts, and that's not what happens. But when it happens to you, you're like, holy shit, that really fucking happened.
Yeah.
And you know
it's
what?
Like a light switch.
Yeah,
just turns
for
on.
For real. And you know what? It's amazing, and I think it's important to have those moments of clarity in your life, like because it may not happen for certain people, and you might go through your whole life not understanding certain things. So, and and through all this shit, there's a brighter side to finance, which is when you do have your shit in order and everything is working right, you get to enjoy certain things in your life that you may not have before, including your own freedom. Because I think that with finance, the most important thing that I've learned is it's all about freedom.
Correct.
I mean, cool things and nice things are cool, but really being able to do what you want to do almost when you want to do it is invaluable. It's almost worth more than money.
Yeah, it is. Well, people say money can't make you happy. And I want to kind of clarify that. You need money to be happy.
Correct.
One. And you don't have to have a lot of money. You don't have to have a ton of money.
But there's a baseline.
You have to. So when you talk about happiness, everybody's happiness is different.
Sure.
My happiness is being able to spend time and do what I want to do with the family, and not have to be stuck at a desk and stuff like that. But you also have to have the money to be able to pay somebody to do the work that you're there to do, right? So happy. Then on the other side, you're talking about happiness. Tangible items, right? Money doesn't make you happy, but money can buy you the things
that can make you happy.
That can make you happy, right? Whether it's a pair of Jordans, 11s, whether it's buying a Mercedes, or whether, like in my instance, I wanted a Raptor.
Yeah, your
forever.
truck is sick, bro.
Yeah, I wanted a Raptor forever, so I went and bought it, right?
Yeah.
So you have that little bit of time of happiness. I'm still happy with my truck.
Sure.
But it's not like the first time that I got it and was able to jump in it.
Well,
and drive
it's never enough, and it never lasts. And
exactly.
You're always kind of chasing something, and some people look at that as a negative, that it's never enough. Or what do we always talk about, Doyle from Wall Street? And he said, how many yachts can you jet ski behind, or whatever? And I think in a way, though, it's okay to always be ambitious and want more. I mean, there are billionaires that, at which point, there's a certain point of money where you don't have to do anything anymore.
Yeah.
Whatever amount of millions it is or whatever it is. But there are people that are that 100 times over and still wake up at 6 for a meeting. And it's like, that's a different kind of person. And I don't think you can get to that level without that kind of thing in your brain.
Well, you have like Gary Vee, right? He wants to buy the Jets.
Yeah.
That's his goal. Right, he
now we're talking how much for the Jets? A couple billion,
probably 2 to 3 billion,
because the Patriots were valued at $4 billion or whatever. Okay.
Yeah, so you're talking about a lot of money, a large sum of money.
Gary Vee does well. He's
Gary
not that
v
well
does well
quite yet. He'd be an investor at this point. He can't buy them.
When we fall back on happiness, that's what's going to make him happy. Yeah. That's what he's shooting for. Yeah. So that's what he does. Then you have the other side. You have the guy that makes $40,000 a year that lives the life that they want to live.
He just wants to buy a big screen TV, and that's the illest thing ever.
And he's happy. And you can't. His happiness doesn't mean that Gary Vee happiness is better than his.
It's different.
It's just different. People have different. Some people just want to wake up. They want to go to work. They want to know their bills are paid. They want to be able to go out and eat when they want. They want to do their little things. 40, 50K a year. Typically, their wife makes 30, 40 grand.
Right.
So they live a decent life to where they're happy. They go take their 1 or 2 vacations a year.
Yeah.
And that's it. And they live their life. Me, not so much that. I want to be able to kind of go off and do what I want. I'm probably accustomed now to where I'll do 4 or 5 little trips a year.
Yeah.
We have the vehicles that we want. We're going to be building our house next year. So we're moving there, but it takes time and money to do that.
Sure.
So when you say money can't buy you happiness, it can't buy you physically happiness.
Right.
But it can get
you
you
can't
to
go
the
to the
vision where you will
store
be
and
happy.
buy a thing called happiness.
Exactly.
But through many purchases or financial decisions, your happiness levels can go through the roof, which can cause other things. I mean,
Exactly.
I think it's just something that a lot of people try to trick themselves into, where maybe they want more than they have, but they can't find a way to get it. So they lie to themselves and say, hey, mediocre is fine. But really what you're doing is eating away at yourself. No, there are plenty of people that are actually truly happy with that. But the ones that aren't and are masking it with, that's just the way it is, or I'm good.
Oh, that's the way the cookie crumbles. That's the famous saying.
It's like, no, you can control things a little more than that, but it takes hard work and there's going to be problems in between. And it's really how you deal with those issues,
Absolutely. You make the sacrifices early to be able to be and do what you want later on.
And nobody knows that more than a true business owner. Mm-hmm. They give all their time and all their money and effort, and there's no guarantee.
Yeah,
just because you open a business.
Yeah, I think if people misunderstand too, there's days you might have $100,000 in your account, and there's days you might have $10.
Yeah,
because you're waiting on money or whatever the case is. So just because you're a business owner, it doesn't mean you always have money.
Right.
But you understand cash flow. You understand how business works. You understand how to, if you need to make a push, you understand how to do the marketing to get new clients in, and you're going to get there. And as a business owner, a real business owner, they're going to do what it takes to continue to make sure that their business runs, to grow a legacy for their children or for their grandchildren, to grow that generational wealth. And generational wealth doesn't mean you have to have millions and millions of dollars.
Correct.
Generational wealth means you've built something, you've built an empire to where your kids can come in. And I don't say give your kids everything. It's dumb. I will never give my kids anything. But you get them in. They start from the ground floor, so they understand and respect and actually value.
Then they'll make the right decisions to expand that. And that's super important.
You grow a business, you grow generational wealth. You see business that's been open for 100 plus years.
Yeah, that's
generational wealth.
And you know what? I miss a lot of those businesses that were, I don't know. When you say that, I think of like a pharmacy from the early 1900s that their family still runs. And the problem is that in a lot of cases, that being a small town thing and the way that like Amazon and companies like that have taken over, it kind of, as much as I like it ruins it, they also provide opportunity. So it's like, I just personally like the old school vibe of like a mom and pop store, like a record store or something like that. And moving online now is
on that side. If they were a good business owner and not think with their heart and actually think with their mind,
they would adapt with the times.
They would adapt, and they would created their Spotify website. They would have got contracted with Amazon. They would have got on eBay, and they would have sold the same, if not more, product than being indoor. But most people don't think that way. Most people just, I've been here forever. I'm just gonna keep trying to get into $200,000 worth of debt.
Yeah,
they got to file bankruptcy and they got to start their whole life over.
Yeah, and they could have just adapted with it more and probably been as successful, if not more successful than they were. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, another thing with money that I think Doyle has a degenerate gambling problem. He likes to throw in on sports bets. How do you feel about betting on sports? Bad financial decision?
I think if you do your research and you understand the teams, you understand the play, you understand where they're at, you understand the weather, you can be successful at it. But if you're like me and so we got the finals coming up, right?
Yeah.
Me, I don't really educate myself on it. So if I went and threw money on the Suns, it would be emotional bet.
Yeah.
So if you can understand and not emotionally bet and actually look at the facts and the understanding and the standings of everyone, who's hurt, who's actually going to be on the field, where are they playing at? What's the weather like?
Well, that separates, like there are people that are nuts about the analytics and they may, I heard that his mother was sick last night, so he's emotionally drained, so he's not going to throw as many touchdowns. There's shit like that happens.
Yeah.
And I mean,
if you're in it like that, you can make money.
Yeah.
You can be that lucky dude to just accidentally pick the right fighter, the right team, and you make money, but you're not going to be consistent at it.
Right. I mean, like, my father used to always say, there's a reason why the casinos look the way they look. They don't look like that because people are losing. They look like that because, or they're losing as a casino. They're winning because the house always wins in the end.
Yeah.
Sports betting.
Interesting, here at the Hard Rock, they make most of their money on the slots.
Yeah, I was going to say the slots must.
The slots make most of the money. So, which is interesting. Blackjack, it's, 49 to 51%, which the house has 51% odds.
Right.
But it's the same thing. You educate yourself. You understand when you're supposed to stay, when you're supposed to split.
You always assume that the dealer has a 10, right? Is that correct in
blackjack? So
blackjack?
you always assume that the dealer has a 10
Ocean's 11,
face down.
Fuck out of here.
So if they have an 8, you have to assume they have an 18.
Yeah.
So if you have 16, you have to take that hit.
You got to hit.
Whether you're going to bust or not. But that's just the rules of the game.
Yeah. And
you can get a lot more in depth and
so do you play like poker and stuff? Is that your thing? Or
I normally do blackjack.
Blackjack is my favorite. Yeah.
I normally do when I go to the casino. I do blackjack.
It's simple.
It's simple. You don't if you know how to count, you typically can be in there. And the great thing is the dealers help you.
Well, I was going to say, isn't it the table versus the dealer in most cases with that, like as opposed to me versus the guy next to me?
Correct. So blackjack is always against the dealer. Poker's a little different, but blackjack, you're playing against a dealer. So you got 5 people around the table, all of them are trying to beat the dealer. And if you got one guy that's not playing by the rules, it's messing up the whole table for everybody else.
Right.
So you got a guy,
he's drunk or something. They have fucking betting.
Dealer has a 3 face up, and they got 16, and they take a hit. Yeah. Then it messes up the.
Yeah, you're taking away my card that I could have got.
Exactly. So you have to kind of you got to those elements kind of mess you up a little bit, but I can tell you in blackjack, I haven't lost a lot of money.
Yeah.
And it's with everything, right? So you go to the casino, you're going to be there 2-3 hours, 4 hours, and let's say you lose $300. You have your stop loss, right? And
that's happened to me before, by the way.
So you say, okay, once I lose this much money, I'm done. But you also have to have the mindset of once I hit $1,000 on this table, I'm bouncing.
I think that's where it gets hard because you throw in 1,000 or you're down and then you're back up or you're even and then you win 1,000. You're like, dude, why don't I just take half of this 1,000? If I lose it, I still get 500. And then you win again and then you think, and then next thing you know, you actually lost $2,000.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's interesting to go. I went to Vegas and the first night I think I lost $1,100. Oh man! Just because we was drinking and not really, Vegas, all the drinks are free and everything.
Oh yeah, they want you to fucking.
So
drink.
You're in there, and then I had to fight back the next few nights to win a little bit of money, but I ended up coming home without losing.
Let me ask you a question, maybe on the record, off the record. If you win, where's the reporting to the government number that you win at the casino? If I go there and I win 50,000 cash, I'm supposed to hit up the government and say I just won 50 cash.
So typically, how that works is it's on the slots because they have the printouts, and when you go collect off the printout, that's when they take your information.
Okay.
Now, when you're doing the tokens, the little coins, in that aspect of it, they can't tell you how much money you changed, right? Because you could have changed $1,000 at the window. And then you could have changed another $5,000 at the table.
Got you.
So there's really they can't say, hey, this guy cashed out on $10,000.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to have that problem. If I won so much money, what do I do?
Yeah, and you have your professional blackjack players, and they do their taxes and they show their earnings.
And they report it as income.
And they report it as gambling winnings, and but most your typical person like me or you, if we're gonna go to the casino, we're gonna hit 10-15 grand on blackjack table, which is very unlikely unless you're going in with the hefty amount. Then none of that gets reported. So your slots, you hit $1,600-$1,800 on a slot, you go turn it in. You got to fill out the paper to give you information. And they'll send you it's a W-2G is what they send you.
A gambling one.
A gambling form that you got to input on your taxes. So poker, blackjack, stuff like that. You're not really reporting that too much unless you're professional.
Now here's a good question. If you're selling, and these are all hypothetical and alleged, so we're not liable for anything here. What if you're on eBay and you're selling stuff, right? At which point should you be reporting what you're making on eBay?
So eBay, they have their algorithm just like Square. If you sell more than $10,000 worth of product, they're going to send you a form.
And that's in a year, a month, or
a year?
A year. Okay.
Yep. So that's a full year. They send you a form. It's a 1099K, which shows you the amount that you actually sold for the year.
Okay. See? Now, Doyle, stop fucking around with your Pokemon cards. You're going to sell fucking Jake Paul your $1 million Pokemon card. The government's going to want to know about that.
Oh, yeah. The government's going to see it.
Yeah. Okay. No. They're going to want to know that you're fucking around. Now, Doyle has a bunch of Pokemon cards. Ryan should have brought his today. You fucked that up because Doyle could have fucking looked at him, but that's okay. Are you into Pokemon at all?
No, I was actually the one that stole my siblings' cards and sold them in middle school.
There we go. And he bought Jordans with them.
Yep. And I bought basketball shoes.
There you go. You like basketball. That's your gig. Now you and Ryan, you guys hoop up a little bit?
Ryan came out one time. I used to play probably 3 to 4 times a week. Plus we was in the Y League, the men's league.
Okay.
And once COVID hit, it shut everything down.
I mean, they tell me I got to cross over like Iverson. I don't want to.
crossover like average. You got to come out and play, man.
Yeah, I might.
It's just a bunch of average people.
Yeah, I mean, I might. Yeah, put on the 11s. I'll come out there like a flu game and shit, bro. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, just come on out. We just have fun. 8:00 in the morning. Typically, we get there.
I'm back in the workout mode, so I'm down. I need some fitness, bro. Enough of this fucking downtown lifestyle I'm living. I need to get my shit together, bro. That's not right.
Just come out. Come out. We'll play.
I'm down.
Everybody's invited.
Doyle thinks he can play basketball. He likes who's your team in the
NBA? So Golden State.
Oh, here we go. I don't like Golden State. Not a fan. I don't like Steph Curry. I don't like.
Well, I've been watching Steph Curry since he was drafted.
You know what my problem is? So. I just don't like. I'm old school, hard nosed basketball. I still believe centers and playing from the inside out. I give him the credit. He changed the game mostly. Him, with shooting a 40-foot fucking shot.
Mm-hmm.
I think it just changed the way the NBA is played to the point where you have to have somebody like him in order to be considered a real team.
Exactly. You before, and I don't know if you look at numbers, but you didn't really see too many games go past 100 points.
No, and now it's like an average Tuesday night. It's like 123 to 131.
Exactly. So and that falls in line with change, and we were just talking about this. You have to change with the times to continue to be successful. Yeah. That's why LeBron has been so successful over the course of his career. Because he's able to adapt and change and do what he needs to do that.
LeBron's my favorite player. I'm just letting that out there. We talked about that before.
I mean,
I don't think he's yours because you're a Golden State fan, so I wouldn't say that.
He's not my favorite player, and not because most people hate him.
Yeah, which I don't
issues.
Understand why somebody would. Well, tell me your issues then.
So when you're on a team, right? You're playing and your teammates are making mistakes.
Right.
You don't get off the court and take your shoes off when there's 9 minutes left.
That's disrespectful.
And you walk into the locker room, and this happened multiple times.
Okay.
I went to a game in Orlando when they came and played, and Orlando beat them, by the way. That's how shitty the Lakers were playing. Orlando beat them, and he walks off with 6 or 8 minutes left. Walks off. It doesn't, you have that camaraderie at the end of the game. Everybody daps up. And
just professional shit. Yeah.
So a great guy, great business guy.
Yeah.
He's creating some phenomenal shit off the court.
Sure.
But as a player, from how I seen growing up watching Jordan and growing up and watching these guys, it's a different era.
Yeah, for sure.
And people are more adapt to just shrug
I would
it off.
say the players now more than ever they definitely feel more entitled.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, for
100%.
sure. 100%.
If Jordan would have did that, he would have had $100,000 fine.
100%.
Every game that you walk off,
and he
like
would
that,
have to explain himself and
exactly.
say and he would have apologized. More importantly, I don't think he would have done it in the first place because he understands.
He wouldn't have.
See, and I agree. It's funny. I barely ever talk shit about LeBron, but something like that is kind of inexcusable. Anyone, especially when, and he's done that too. I think in big games, like playoff.
He
games.
just did it a couple weeks ago.
Now other players do it as well. It's just that when you're LeBron,
when you're
though,
of that
you
stature,
gotta,
you have to hold yourself accountable on another level.
Yeah.
And you're right. Players now, they have too much power.
Yeah.
If the top 30 players right now left the NBA and started their own league, NBA would die.
I know. So,
and that's
they
a
know
problem.
that too. They know that. And
you have the players coaching the teams.
Well, I'm gonna tell you one of my biggest problems with it is, and me and Doyle talk about it. The load management bullshit. I have a problem with. If I paid $250 for me and my son to go see the fucking Spurs, and Tim Duncan decides I'm taking a fucking night off, no motherfucker, you're gonna play because you should play, not because Pop told you that you need to. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care that you're playing the Timberwolves and you're gonna win by 30. Still get out there and fucking play. Yep. Then you can get back into your Bentley and go to your fucking mansion and everything's cool.
Exactly. Yeah, I think people are opening their eyes a little more.
Right.
To see how these people really are. Just take off just because you got.
Well, social media has changed that. You get to see somebody like Kevin Durant, like somebody like that that's overly emotional. You wouldn't normally get to see that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you just see the press conference and that's kind of it. And that's, the internet's opened up the world to a lot more information.
Yep.
And you're able to kind of see who you're looking up to, and you're trying to. And that's one thing I try to kind of teach my kids is, don't look up to these athletes.
Yeah.
Don't look up, look up to somebody that's going to inspire you to do more. If that's an athlete, great.
Yeah.
But just because he can fucking dunk or he can shoot a 40-foot three, you're not going to do that.
Yeah, you see him on SportsCenter, so you immediately think he's the greatest person in the world. I mean, when you're young and impressionable like that. And I grew up thinking that about a lot. And then if you were to, that's why they say a lot of times you don't want to meet your heroes because you might really go, oh, that's how you are? Like,
exactly.
what the fuck?
You have to stay humble. You have to appreciate where you came from.
Yeah.
And most kids these days don't do either.
Well, I'll tell you what, the internet has changed. Now, you're a little younger than me. I'm 36, going on 37, but you're still in that same bracket. And when we were younger, obviously the world was different. And really the main thing is the level of the internet, right? The internet's existed from the mid-90s anyway, but in the way that it does today, once it got into the palm of your hand, I mean, if I was 10 years old now in 2021, I mean, you're connected to an iPad, a phone, or something. In a lot of ways, a lot of parents use it as a daycare substitute. Just hold this iPad and shut up for 3 hours while I handle this. And it's like, there's so many things that are wrong, and it's a gift and a curse because there's great shit about the internet. There are things that can help you for sure, but the kids now and it bleeds into sports. So that same mentality is in sports. I'm sure that there are kids in high school that play basketball that act a certain way because of the internet and the phone and their connection to it.
Absolutely. You don't
It's crazy.
You don't really get the actual person that you're talking to anymore.
Right.
You get a version of whoever they look up to. You get a version of somebody looks up to, just give me anybody. Somebody looks up to Michael Jordan, right? Phenomenal role model. And he's did well for himself. He has businesses. He's still a billionaire.
Yeah.
Now that he's been retired for 20 years, however long it's been. And then now you have, what's the dude that they just caught on the side of the road and they gave him a job? Basketball player.
Oh, he was like homeless and shit.
Yeah.
Fuck. Who was it? No, it wasn't
No,
Lamar
it was
Odom.
basketball.
Why you got to be a scumbag and disrespect Lamar Odom?
Right.
He did smoke
No.
crack and fuck
Yeah.
a bunch of chicks while he was with Chloe. But we're not talking about Lamar Odom. Thank you, Doyle, from the Peanut Gallery. I don't remember his
but
name.
I remember vividly. Yeah.
Delonte
And
West.
They picked
He
him
was
up.
fucked
He went viral because he was homeless.
Yeah.
I forget which team picked him up and gave him a job and did everything. But that's your typical outcome for these people playing sports.
Yeah.
They go out, they sign a big contract, they buy $2 million houses.
Then I realized it cost $300,000 a year just to maintain it, even if you don't live there.
They go buy 7 Lamborghinis, and now you're broke and you're waiting on your next deal to come through.
Yeah.
And then what happens? Now you're retired, or you get injured, or whatever the case is, and now you can't play anymore. Now you got to sell off all these assets, but how do you change your lifestyle?
Yeah, because
From that.
and it's hard. Let me tell you something. Like, I stepped my lifestyle up in the last few months out of a personal decision based on life is short, and like there's a lot of things that went into it. And I'll be honest with you, man. I drive around a lot downtown and I see homeless people, and it humbles the fuck out of me every single time because I think we're all just a few bad decisions away from that happening. It can happen so quickly, and it can happen just you don't see it, and the next thing you know, you got issues, and then something happens, and a lot of it has to do with obvious mental issues and maybe drug abuse and stuff. But seeing shit like that, and then Delonte West, like I saw that guy on TV. He's a millionaire. Isn't he fine? And it's like, and then I know that the NBA players, a lot of them felt bad, and then when they're in a position that they're in, it's like, do we send them money? What do we do? And
it's like,
and they're all waiting for one of them to do it, and it's like, oh man.
Exactly. You get these fucking famous financial advisors.
Yeah.
To go in and try to help these guys, which they're just making money left and right.
I was gonna say they just take half their money.
Yeah, exactly. They just take their money and they're gonna live their life, regardless, because you're gonna have the next rookie come up and you're gonna take their money.
And you have no idea as the famous athlete because your life is moving at 1 trillion miles an hour and you trust this guy, and all of a sudden you're missing $6 million.
Exactly.
Like,
you don't know what happened.
Yeah.
And that's it's unfortunate, but these players, they're uneducated for the most part.
Yeah.
Because they're getting pushed through because they're phenoms.
Yeah.
So they're uneducated. They don't know finance. No, the parents typically don't know finance.
Correct.
And they just end up in this vicious cycle, what I like to call, of just blowing their money. I remember watching a interview, forget what the guy's name was, but he was a football player. And he said, I'm already making millions, right? I'm making millions, and very, very humble guy. And he said, why would I go out and buy a $200,000 diamond ring when I can go buy a $200 diamond ring that looks the same and nobody's going to know the difference?
I think Ocho Cinco, it was on one of those interviews. He was saying that like all this jewelry and shit was fake the whole time. And they're like, what? And he goes, look, and none of you idiots knew the difference. Now, me personally, I'm an asshole. I would never do that. I like the nicer things and all that bullshit. I do understand the concept, and what he was trying to say is, I already made it. I don't need to show you motherfuckers.
Exactly. I don't need to show you. But at the same time, you had to keep up with that lifestyle.
I know, yeah.
And you have to have the jewelry now. You have to have the iced-out Rolex.
Yeah.
You have to have the AP.
That's the problem is even, and look, some of it to me is okay to feel like the way you present yourself and some of the things you have in your taste, it kind of does dictate who you are to people that don't know you.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a line that you cross. And when you're starting to do things for the wrong reason and you're trying to impress or you're trying to fill a void in your soul that you're never going to fill by buying nice shit and walking around, and all you're doing is hurting yourself.
Exactly. You're hurting your money.
And your family, for that matter.
And typically these people that go buy a $30,000 Rolex, and they take it to the jewelry store, and they decrease the value by putting diamonds in it.
Yeah, shitty diamonds that are not factory.
Exactly. And they just go, and now their $30,000 watch that they just spent another $15,000 customizing, they got 45 grand in a watch that they can only get 15 out of.
But they do look cool on Instagram.
They do look cool on Instagram.
And that is the point.
However, you'll never get your money out. You're going to waste a bunch of money.
Right.
And if you're trying to be like these athletes, you know, you have to revisit what you're trying to do, where you're trying to be, and actually have a realistic goal, because that's not real.
I feel like the internet has exacerbated that, meaning there are people that will never do certain things if the internet didn't exist. Me and Doyle talk about it all the time within the collecting world. There's all these expensive ass games and expensive sneakers, and that if the internet didn't exist and you couldn't take a picture of that and put it on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, you would have never done that. And
Absolutely.
That in itself is the issue that I hope that some people could realize. That's like, that's not going to help you.
No, it's not.
It's going to fuck you up.
What's happening is these kids, you know, parents are doing decent. You know, they're not rich. They don't have a bunch of money. But these kids are walking around with $300 shoes on.
Yeah, it's not right.
Walking around with Yeezys and all kind of shit for no reason. They're going to go to school and get them dirty.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. You know, and that's the biggest thing with the internet that I think we fight with. Even my 7-year-old talks about what Jordans he wants and,
it's hard,
and things
man.
like that.
It's so in their face all the time. It was already a marketing thing before, but I mean, just to randomly pick up something in your hand and then, you know, like when you talk about things and it comes up on your phone as an advertisement, like I think my girl was looking for a Jeep recently. We're talking about Jeeps, and now my phone just lights up with Jeep advertisements all the time.
It's crazy. It's
hard to get away from that, and we're fed this lifestyle of just, you know. That's why I try to pride myself on anything that I do. I like to think in my own mind, at least it's out of passion. It's out of, this is really what I love. This is really what I love to do, and that's why I do it. You know, with my collection and shit, we always talk about, I've had that shit before the internet existed in the fashion it does. Meaning before Instagram was a thing or before that. Yeah. It was just a good idea to network like-minded people with shit like that. And somewhere along the line that gets diluted and it gets lost, but the essence of it is something I hope certain people keep. You know what I mean? It's just,
it's tough to you get into it and you have to start making a living from it, right? Mm-hmm. So now you're saying, okay, I'm making, you know, starting out a year down the road, I'm making 50 grand a year from this business now, right. Which is moderate. You know, you stay humble that way. And now you go from 50, now you're making 100.
Right.
So now instead of driving a $250 car payment, you're driving a $700 car payment.
Right.
Instead of having a $1,400 mortgage, now you have a $2,800 or $3,000 mortgage. So yes, you're making more money, but you just doubled your bills as well.
Correct.
So you're still gonna live that same.
I always tell people, you know what? You know, I don't care if you make $1 million a year. If you owe 75 grand a month for your expenses, who cares? You might as well make 25 grand a year and just have
you just driving a nicer vehicle.
Yeah, you're not getting anywhere. You're just running in place. You're not doing anything. So like my opinion with finances, and once again, not an expert, me, is your debt is everything. Like one thing that I pride myself on is that I don't have any debt. Now I incurred a debt with the apartment because they wouldn't let me pay off the lease in full, which you don't do, and all that bullshit. But other than that, if you could keep your debt super low, even you could live a decent lifestyle with not a super amount of money. Now, obviously, going through life without a certain amount of debt, that's how this entire world is built, which is actually the last thing I wanted to talk to you about was like credit. Because people I know that credit's a super important thing. I learned that when I repaired my credit from what I did when I was an idiot in my early 20s, which is just run up credit cards and not give a fuck, and it'll reset in 7 years and all this shit, right? And then I'm like, oh, let me go in to get a nice apartment because my other house I already owned or whatever. And I come in here and I'm like, yeah, but look at my bank account. And they're like, well, we don't care. Where the fuck did all this money come from? And also, where's your consistent income from a consistent... So like all of these things work together. And I just think it's important that people understand, like, as I got older, I'm like, oh yeah, I probably should have learned about this way earlier. Someone school me to it.
Schools don't teach you what they need to for real life.
I don't care about the War of 1812. Tell me how to get an 850 credit score.
Exactly.
So,
Tell me how to do my taxes.
Taxes, yeah.
Tell me how to financially be smart.
Correct.
And be stable. Tell me how to not just go out and get a job somewhere.
Like I didn't know I didn't know about like credit utilization before. You know, like I didn't realize, oh, you're supposed to use an X amount of your fucking credit cards, but not go too high so the banks don't think you owe too much, but still pay it off. And
so with that, it's very tough. America's built on debt.
yeah,
America's built on credit.
big time.
And that's our biggest problem here in the U.S. I'm part Mexican, so in Mexico, you have your family growing up, and as you're getting older, you'll go find a job, or you'll come to the U.S. You'll go somewhere and you'll start making money. And then you start sending money back gradually and build your own house.
Right.
So there's no debt into a house over there. You're not going to get a $50,000, $80,000.
Which is the biggest debt in our country, I would assume, is your home.
So you have your house. So here in America, we're taught 18 years old, go get a $200,000 student loan that you can never get rid of, right? And then from there, it's, okay, now I'm out of college. I owe $200,000. Now I need to go get this $70,000 job that I just spent 4 years and $200,000 to get. Now from there, $70,000 is decent income, so you're gonna go get a entry-level BMW or entry-level Mercedes or maybe even a used Range Rover or something like that.
Yeah, a little range.
And, yeah, you're gonna do something like that. You're gonna have an $800 payment roughly.
Yeah, right.
And then you're gonna jump in and say, okay, now it's time for me to buy a house. All right, so you're not gonna go find a $150,000 house.
Nope.
You're gonna go find a $400,000 house, and your mortgage is gonna be $2,500 to $3,000.
So now you're $500,000 in debt roughly. And you make only $70,000 a year, and you might be able to skate by and pay for your monthly expenses, but you're not saving any money.
You're not saving, and you're not enjoying your life.
And you're not in. See, I always say that. I always go, you got to do your expenses. There's non-negotiables and like what your monthlies, and then you go, oh, and then I have this amount left. Oh, I should save that. And then then what am I working for all this for?
Exactly.
I don't even have any money to save, and it's like, and then what happens is you look at people that have more than you, and you don't understand why you don't have that, and then you develop a complex, and then there's this. So, and then you take your credit cards and you put yourself in $40,000 in credit card debt to try to keep up with the Joneses, and now you just fucked yourself.
Keep up with everybody else, and typically when you're in that career path, it would go $70,000, and then that's entry level typically, depending on what they're doing, and then you're gonna start hanging out with people that work there that are making $90,000, $100,000.
Right.
And now you're trying to, like you say, you're trying to keep up with them. And
you're always chasing that carrot.
Exactly. You're always trying to chase that and get there.
Yeah.
And they don't teach you. And this is what I tell my kids: I'm not paying for you to go to college. If you want to go to college, you're going to get a free ride, or you're going to go to work and pay for it yourself.
Correct.
I'm not going to pay for you to go to party for 2 years.
Plus, also, college doesn't hold the same value anymore, diploma-wise, unless you're in a very specific thing.
If you're going to do
a lawyer,
if you want to be a
doctor,
lawyer, that was about to say. If you want to be a lawyer, you want to be a doctor.
The only one thing I'll say about college that I feel like is a benefit is the non-tangible shit, meaning the experiences, the networking, the dealing with problems. What I was going to say, but nowadays you could do that anyway. You could move out at a young age with another friend and deal with the turmoil of how we're going to pay our rent, or this, or bad relationships, or whatever. It used to be for me. I mean, I went to community college for 6 months and realized, what the fuck am I doing?
It's not for
I'm
me.
not a school guy at all. But I used to value that at least the kids get to go to college and they get to go through some shit for a few years. But the world has changed so much that unless, like we said, a lawyer, doctor, something, you could find your own way to either make your own business or get educated in something, create your own niche, and then make real money that way.
Well, here's the deal, and that's what I was going to get to is you're going to college, you're 18 years old, you don't know what you want to be. Unless you get somebody that's, past their time and they already know they want to be a doctor. They already know they want to be a lawyer. They already know they want to be some of that stature. Or even a teacher, right? Because we need teachers.
Yeah, we do.
Teachers, you're going to go...
Well, everybody has their place. That's a big thing I always say.
Everybody has their place. But keep in mind, a teacher, entry level is around $30,000 to $40,000 a year.
It's ridiculous.
And you got to go to college for 4 years. Now, let's say my son comes up to me. I want to go to college. Well, what do you want to do? Oh, I don't know, business management. No, the fuck you're not.
Yeah.
You're not going to go to business management. You're not going to do that. I'll tell you what. I'm going to put you in welding school, get you a trade.
Where the trades are invaluable.
You'll be done in 8 months, and you're going to jump out making $80,000 a year. I'll pay for that 10 times over before I pay for college.
Sure.
Because there's going to be no debt. He's going to come out immediately making good money. And then later on, if he wants to go to college and do something that he's passionate about when he's mid-20s, when you actually have an idea on life and you have an idea on what you want to do, then you can go do that with your own money.
Yep.
You're not going to do that with my money. And it's funny because it sounds harsh, but here's the deal. Most students that go to college, one, don't finish, or two, don't even work in the field that they went to college for.
Right, exactly.
So I'm not going to waste my money and do that.
I have a cousin who went to school to be a school teacher, and she does very well for herself with a business about doing tours at Disney and shit like that. And I always laugh at like, yo, imagine you stayed in school and you just became a teacher instead of XYZ happening and then you following this path. It's like, and then that's another thing. Like, life is going to throw you in a billion ways as far as like when you're in your fucking 20s coming up, like you don't know what the hell's going to happen. And it's important to sometimes embrace those things, you know, like
mid-20s, mid-30s.
Yeah.
That's when you're really figuring out what you can do, what you can become, and what you can really, as a 20-year-old, you don't really know what your limits are yet.
Of course not.
You know, you're just going to go out and do your thing and go party and kind of live that life. And once you get mid-20s, 30, now you got to think about settling down. Now you got to think about buying a house.
Yo, it's crazy.
You know, whatever it is. And that's where shit gets real.
Yeah.
That's what, okay, now I got to figure out my life because I only have 30 more years left.
Yeah, you and your calendar, right? Yeah. You're looking at that life calendar and saying, fuck it. I mean, I mean, all of this shit is super important, man. And you know what? I appreciate you coming on today. I really think I wanted to change up the show a little bit, do something that's different. And I'm going to bring in a lot more people that are like who I deem to be interesting. I'm sure you'll come on again. We'll do something more specific next time, whatever. But like I said, man, I appreciate you coming in.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. We'll have something a little more. Maybe we can do a get your viewers to send in some questions.
Sure, yeah. If you have financial questions or shit, let me know.
2-week thing, and
I'll
let
put
them
all the info like in the link in the description, and people can go right to the site or whatever.
Yeah, and then just put in the questions. I'll jump back on, and we'll kind of try to go through and answer the questions that people may have.
Awesome. And listen, I know the people are going to thank me, Doyle. They got to not hear your bullshit for at least 1 week. We have vital information from this gentleman, and I think they're going to be happy. So until next time, peace.
See ya.